you know?
In Walt Disney Productions' 24-karat comedy, $1 Million Duck.
Welcome to Colin Dave vs. the Machine Video Edition. This week, we are going to be talking about the Disney film $1 Million Duck. Gene Siskel, he only walked out of 3 films in his entire career as a critic, one of them being this movie, $1 Million Duck, released in 1971. Dave, how much did you hate this?
This is probably the worst movie I've ever seen.
To me, this felt like people, I don't know, throwing up in the morning and being like, well, we can release this in theaters, and then pressing it into something.
There's a blank reel. I'm like, there's an emulsion happening. Let's just print it.
What do you remember? What do you remember of this movie?
There is a duck.
Named Charlie.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Lays a golden egg. Family thinks they're going to become rich from it.
Not even golden. Like we'll ask the viewers, when you think of a golden egg, do you think of an egg that's made of gold, or do you think of a fucking egg where you crack it and all the whites are still runny, and then there's a little piece of shit gold nugget in it that's apparently partially made up of food?
Radioactive?
It's disgusting.
It's so bizarre. Every character in this movie is made out to be the dumbest person in the entire
Offensively.
world.
Don't bother your father with that now. He has little enough on his mind as it is.
Offensively could not survive in the world. They're that dumb. And I really hate movies myself when every character is just really stupid. So I reject it on that level. I reject it on an entertainment level. I think this even gives a bad name to children's films because children deserve better than what $1 Million Duck is. I hated my entire experience. I hate it even more because they actually do have good actors in this and you wouldn't be able to tell.
With Dean Jones, Sandy Duncan, and Charlie.
The only way I know is because I know of other things that they have been in that I have enjoyed. Everybody should be ashamed that this was made. Everyone should be ashamed that they decided to star in it. And Disney should be ashamed that they even released it out of their vault. This should not be available for people to watch on their service. Dave, I'm sorry that I'm underselling how much I didn't like this. But
I was just going to point out that the fact that this movie came to fruition and Disney was allowed to continue as a company is probably one of the greatest affronts in all human history. It's awful.
The thing about it is, of course, there was bad movies that were released when Walt Disney was still alive. But the fact that when he passed away, they were just like, oh, I don't know what to do. Let's just try this. Let's do this thing. Let's make this movie over here. The early 70s were not a good period for Disney films. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of shitty stuff that gets released.
This will make you think, if you don't watch it, but if you watch it, don't. But if you're forced to, this movie will make you think that Bedknobs and Broomsticks is good.
Elbow, henbane, aconite.
I mean, that's how bad this movie is.
That's how bad this movie. I just envision someone being like, you know what? Maybe I should watch $1 Million Duck, and they're about to push play, and Dave just comes from behind and just slaps the remote out of their
That's my new life mission.
Don't.
Yeah, waiting in the bushes. He might be streaming it. Just don't. If we could set fire...
Don't do it.
If we could hack any server and set fire to any piece of data, it would be the source file of this piece of shit in the Disney archive.
I think what we mentioned on the podcast even is that I'm sure the bean counters, the accountants at the Walt Disney Corporation, probably were looking at like, wow, 2 people stream $1 Million Duck this month? Like, what is happening?
You know what's crazy? People actually watch this fucking movie in the theaters.
But I want a puppy! I want a dumb old duck!
Yeah, people actually paid money. I would be so mad if I had paid money to watch this in the theater. Don't watch the movie. Do listen to our podcast. It's probably our shortest episode that we're going to release this season. Because we didn't have a lot of stuff to say about it, and all of it was bad.
If you thought that you've heard me swearing before, just tune in this week.
We actually, in the episode, we do bleep every time he says that. So it just...
The movie would have been better if it was called $1 Million
Whoa, okay. That was what my honeymoon was. That's my hack comedian character I'm workshopping. You can listen to our podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, of course. You can subscribe for more videos here on YouTube. Tell your friends, tell your enemies even about our show.
Tell your enemies about this movie.
Tell them about this movie specifically.
You're welcome.
Get that stupid duck out of here!